This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. Call center scams, a huge bust, but is it a drop in the barrel? A man kills himself for something that he did not do. And I run the risk of being blown up and dying, but it's all just part of the job. But firstly, you may have heard of the never-ending battle with scam centres here in the kingdom. And you may think, why is it they cannot be closed down? Well, very simply, it's because the amount of money involved is vast. And this was never truer when this week the American Department of Justice announced that a number of conspirators have now pleaded guilty for their role in laundering $37 million from an investment scam that was carried out at a scam centre in Sihanoukville. The headline said it all. Criminals plead guilty in scam conspiracy that resulted in a theft of more than $36.9 million. Although based here, the network of this gang spread across the globe. Those that have been arrested include a Mr. Wong of California, a Mr. Zhang from China, Jose Zomrebel of Los Angeles, and a Mr. Su from Turkey. The mistake that these guys seem to have made is that they used US shell companies and bank accounts to launder their money, and the US cops noticed. The scam itself was simple. The scam center sent out millions of unsolicited messages via email, social media, text messages, and even online dating apps. Each and every message was sculptured to gain the victim's trust. When a victim responded to a message, those in the call center set about building up trust with the victim. And over time, the scammers would tell the victims that their recent investments were growing in value. And just like Bernie Madoff, they even sent out bogus spreadsheets. But these spreadsheets were pure fantasy. The money was in fact being transferred to US bank accounts and then onto a single bank account at the Deltec Bank in the Bahamas. Now you may think this scam was big. After all, it was nearly $37 million of stolen money. But trust me, it ain't nothing. Kiri Post reports that cyber scam revenue in Cambodia allegedly exceeds $12.5 billion annually. Now please note, that is over $12 billion stolen every single year from scam centres in Cambodia alone. The misery and devastation these criminals leave in their wake is unimaginable. So the capture of these criminals and their $37 million is a great bust. But sadly, it truly is a drop in the ocean. On this week's Crime Desk, a man commits a crime so horrifying it turns my stomach. A senior official involved in death by drink driving. And another man kills himself for a crime he did not commit, but then again, he was blind drunk. It is another week and another death by drink driving, but this time the killer driver's identity was to shock many, as he was a senior government official. The headline read, "Government official arrested over drink driving leading to fatal crash." Police in Phnom Penh this week arrested a government official for speeding whilst intoxicated and hitting a motorcycle, causing a woman to die and yet another to be very seriously injured. The crash took place at the intersection of Hanoi Road and Phnom Bay Road. Major Savun of Sensok District Police named the suspect as Tan Vanada, a deputy director of the Land Office. Reports tell of how late one night the suspect was speeding in his Land Cruiser down Hanoi Road. He slammed into the back of a motto, causing utter devastation. The two females on the bike had no chance, and one was killed instantly. The driver, on seeing the carnage, did not try to help the two ladies that lay before him bleeding on the tarmac. He instead reversed his severely damaged car and tried to make a getaway. But he was soon apprehended by the district police. The police then conducted an alcohol test on the driver, and it is that test that showed the man was drunk. The latest update on this story reads, official responsible for death of two women in drunken collision sent to court. Which is a good thing, as this accident is devastating to the dead woman's family, but their pain is not over yet, as the bitterest pill they have to swallow may well be this. For being drunk and for killing their loved one, the prison term is 3 to 5 years. There are some headlines that jump out at me, and then they just linger in my mind as my imagination sets out the stage of what happened at the crime scene. And this week saw one of the most gruesome and horrifying murders I have ever encountered. The headlines said it all. Drug addict murders own mother and his daughter with brick. Police arrested a man this week who savagely beat to death not only his elderly mother, but also his own daughter. That's bad. I mean, that's really bad. But it's the next sentence that really sticks in my throat. The young girl murdered was just 3 years old. This man beat his 3-year-old daughter to death with a house brick. What happened in that house that night is a thing of nightmares. The incident occurred one afternoon in Karachi province. The murders themselves were committed by a 32-year-old man, one that neighbours say was a known drug user. When Mr. Firun was arrested, he confessed. He said that afternoon his mother had berated him and called him a coward. Enraged by his mother's taunt, he went outside and he returned with a brick. He cornered his mother in the house and he bashed her skull in with that brick, causing her to die. He then dragged the corpse outside and he dumped it. It was then he turned around, walked back into the house and went into his daughter's bedroom. The 3-year-old lay there on her bed, peacefully sleeping. He raised the brick once more and he repeatedly brought it down on her tiny skull, killing her where she lay. The crime is without parallel when it comes to barbarity, and it's that barbarity that will soon be explained to a judge by a government prosecutor. Now, here is an odd one to close our crime desk. It's all about an enraged man that attempts murder, but it is, in fact, him that ends up dead. The headline read, "Gold trader hangs himself after beating wife." A man was found dead hanging from a tree in front of his house. He had wrapped the rope around the tree branch and then lynched himself, believing he had just killed his wife. But he was wrong. He was no murderer, as she was to survive. The incident itself occurred at 1 a.m. in Damnak Troeng village in Phnom Penh. And that time alone, being the early hours of the morning, tells pretty much the whole story. There had been what was described as a drinking party, and a row had broken out between the husband and the wife. After the row, the wife went to bed, but the husband carried on drinking. His anger only rose as the night hours slipped by, and finally he snapped. He went into the family home and he battered his wife about the head repeatedly. Blood poured from her skull and she soon lost consciousness. Looking down, the man thought he had killed his wife, and in his drunken stupor, he completely failed to notice that she was in fact very much alive. He panicked and grabbed a rope. He threw it over the branch of the tree and he then hung himself in his own front yard. It was not until 5 a.m. a neighbour walking to work saw his still body at the end of the rope, and he reported it to the police. The man's body was cut down. A man who had died for something he did not do. Okie dokie. I will open our final story with this photo. It's a photo I took of myself in what I strongly believe is a landmine field. You can see my shadow there at the bottom of the photo. And you may well say that walking in a landmine field is a little stupid, but you would be wrong. It is very stupid. But I kind of have no choice. I hunt ancient temples that most people know nothing about. And I have visited and filmed about 250 of them so far. And often I put myself in danger. But how is it I can say that this particular field probably had landmines in it? Well, the farmer who led me to this particular temple had only one leg, as the other one had been blown off in those same fields. And his misfortune is far from rare, as yet again landmines hit the headlines. Palin farmer killed by landmine while ploughing. A farmer in Salkrau district was killed this week when a landmine exploded whilst he was ploughing a field with his tractor. The Director General of the Cambodian Mine Action Centre confirmed that the explosion took place in a rice field in Stung Trang commune, resulting in his death. He added that between January and May of this year alone, 20 people were victims of landmines. 6 of those died. The victims were 12 men, 2 women, 5 boys, and a girl under 18. So, how bad is it out there? Well, so far, Cambodia has cleared 3,300 square kilometres of land contaminated by various forms of explosives. Now, pay attention here. So far, they have destroyed 1.2 million anti-personnel mines, 25,000 anti-tank mines, and 3.2 million other explosive devices. And there is more, so much more, as there is still 1,700 square kilometres of land contaminated by explosives. So when on that sunny day I stopped in my tracks and I took that photo, I realised my temple hunting could kill me. I took the photo and sent it to my best friend Marek in the UK. The truth is, I was scared. I realised I could die. But then I realised, in this life, if you ain't scared every now and then simply put, you ain't living. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. Here we are, the final chapter of the show, which is always the weather, but we're sliding that aside to show you my little thing of the week. And it's this. I've put a filter over it, but have a look. Isn't it calming? You see, isn't it lovely? See the way the water just gently moves across there? I stood there for ages, looking at that. I thought it was very nice. And I thought, I know, I'll film this and then put it on my show. So soak it in. It's rather nice to have a bit of calm, isn't it? After the storm that is the show itself. But that's enough of the calm. Let's get to the weather. And, oh dear, how do I do this again? Hang on. Oh, there we go. Oh, that was quite good. I got it up quite quick this week, didn't I? Well done, me. And what do we see? Well, it says it's going to be calm over the weekend and stuff. But if you want my honest opinion, I don't believe that for toffee. I prefer the end of the week, which is going to be more rain and more thunderstorms. The high I see as I scan across the board is 92 degrees, and there is just a gentle breeze at 12 miles an hour. This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.